I was about 12 or 13 years old. One time, I was walking to my psychiatrist for my weekly appointment. It's a half-hour walk and after dark. I enjoyed walking, especially after dark when things were quiet, peaceful, and slow and no one else around. No, I didn't live in a dangerous neighborhood, nor did my walk take me through any dangerous neighborhoods. As I'm walking halfway to my destination, a car, a Cadillac, comes driving down the street. Some people, both male and female, in the car are sticking themselves halfway out the windows and are taunting me and jeering me as they drive by. A bunch of people in their late teens or early 20s. I ignore them and keep on walking. About a minute or two later, the same car comes down the street again and those people are jeering me and taunting me again. I don't know who they are. Maybe they live in the neighborhood. I still ignore them and keep walking. Another minute or so goes by and they come driving down the street, taunting and jeering me. Now I'm worried. They're circling the block over and over, deliberately focusing on me. As soon as they reach the corner and make their turn and are out of sight, I duck behind some bushes in someone's front yard and wait. The car comes down again the street. This time, not seeing me walking down the street, they're not jeering. They pass right by me in my hiding place and turn the corner. I think they think I finally reached my destination, one of the houses on the block, and went inside and as a result drove away. Stupidly, I leave my hiding place and go back to walking on my way to my psychiatrist. I should have stayed there behind those bushes much longer because I heard the car approaching. They spot me and start taunting and jeering me again. They turn the corner. This time I ran towards my destination, but I know I won't get far before the car and those kids catch up with me again. So to that effect, I decided to hide again behind the bushes in front of an apartment building. This time resolving to stay there for a while until the people in the car give up searching for me. I'm hiding there, behind the bushes for not long. Maybe about 30 seconds or so when the guy pops out from his apartment asking what I'm doing hiding in his bushes. At first he probably thinks I'm a burglar or something, but I explain to him how I'm walking to my psychiatrist and how I'm being followed and harassed by a bunch of kids in the car, which was why I'm hiding in his bushes. The guy can instantly tell from the tone of my voice and my facial expression that I'm telling him the truth. He can see how scared I am. Just then, the car comes down the street and pulls right up to the curb directly in front of us. They look at me and the guy I'm with, not a mean looking guy in his late 30s, early 40s, but tough and serious looking enough. He's not wearing a shirt, but he's wearing a sleeveless undershirt that reveals the guy's upper body is very well toned, slightly muscular, and not fat. I'm looking at the car and I realize that it's missing a few people inside. The car doesn't look so full now. The guy I'm with just gives them a mean stare. He asks me, "You know them?" I explain that no, I don't know them at all. I haven't the slightest idea of who they are. Just then, as the car is sitting there, about 3 of them approach walking from the other direction. The car was traveling east to west. Those 3 were walking on foot from west to east, so that's why the car seemed not so full. They were looking to escalate the situation. They were not satisfied with just driving by and taunting me. They changed tactics. A few of them got out of the car up ahead and started walking towards me while the ones in the car took another turn around the block. Their plan now was to physically trap me in between themselves and their car. Perhaps grab me and drag me into the car with them for whatever reasons. But seeing my tough guy guardian angel with me, the kids walking towards the car instead got into the car and took off. The guy offered to stay with me for a little longer, or if I wanted to duck into his apartment to stay there until I was sure that it was safe to continue on my journey. I had a feeling this was the last time I was going to see those guys in their car, and I didn't want to be late for my appointment, so I thanked the guy for his offer but declined, and decided to head on my way. The guy went back into his apartment and closed the door. I looked at the closed door and hoped that I didn't make a mistake by turning down the guy's offer or better safety, because I was still scared. Thankfully, I was right about not seeing that car again. The rest of my walk, I was unmolested. I reached my psychiatrist's office. I told my therapist about what happened. He insisted on calling the police. The police came and took a report from me. That's the last I heard of it. On my way back home, I usually take the same route that I came from, up the same streets. But this evening, I varied my way home, taking some different side streets to walk on. Never saw that car or those people again. Strange occurrences seem to have followed me my entire life. From time to time, things happen and I can't quite explain them. Here are some examples. An old girlfriend and I were living in a basement apartment in a house that was 100+ years old. Our kitchen/dining area had a little eating space in the form of a bar along the wall, where she had propped 2 framed photo collages she had of herself and friends. During a particularly heated discussion one night, one of them went off the counter where it stood and smashed on the floor a few feet out. We thought perhaps it had fallen off, until we saw the other take off with some force. It went through the air about 4 feet and smashed against a bookshelf. Neither of us could come along with a fitting explanation. In the same apartment a few months later, I was home alone sitting on a couch reading. The entrance of the home had a small area when you came in the door with a set of steps up the main house and a set down to our space. On the wall, there were some hooks with some brooms hanging from them. As I sat there in silence, our dog started barking up the stairs towards the landing. I called her over and she came to lay with me on the couch. A moment or two later, one of these brooms came flying down the stairs as if it were thrown. To get the broom off the hook, you would have to pull it out until it was horizontal and lift up. Again, I could come up with no reasonable explanation, and I was the only one in the house apart from the dog next to me on the couch. I lived nearby a friend's grandparents' home and he would stay with them often. Naturally, I would also stay rather often, but that house was unusual. Perhaps most unnerving was in the room I stayed in. There was a mirror that faced out into the hallway. The hallway had wall-mounted lights every few feet the whole way down. When laying in bed, you could see what appeared to be shadows occasionally moving up and down the hallway in the reflection. If you look down the hallway itself, no such things could be seen. Lastly, for now, just 2 days ago in my apartment my wife and I share, she was standing in the washroom and I stood in a doorway talking to her. The kitchen is immediately behind me, and as we spoke, the ceiling light fixture that hadn't been touched since I replaced a bulb a month or 2 ago suddenly came off and exploded, sending glass everywhere. Perhaps the threading and the screw holding it in place had let go, but that doesn't explain the various utensils that had been on the counter a few feet away that were now lying on the floor. There had been many other strange experiences in my life, but I still don't truly believe in the supernatural, oddly enough. I assume there are explanations for all these things. I'm quite possibly just too dumb to figure them out. My ex-wife and I had a small second-story apartment. Her then 3-year-old daughter also lived with us. Struggling to make ends meet while taking care of our small family led to working opposite shifts at our jobs and not much time together. I frequently pulled long shifts at work, sometimes going in shortly after midnight and not getting home until afternoon. She would constantly tell me about the weird vibes she felt in the apartment when I wasn't around. Shadows that she would always catch out of the corner of her eye. Voices and noises that were always just out of earshot. I always passed everything off as lights from passing cars playing tricks on her or overhearing neighbors, etc. As we spent more time in the apartment, she grew frustrated with me always doubting her. The activity in the home never escalated, nor did anything strange even occur when I was around. At least not that I couldn't explain anyway. The skeptic I am knew that this was absolutely not a paranormal phenomenon. One night, somehow we were both at home, which is strange enough in and of itself. Her daughter was asleep in her room. It's difficult to paint a picture of the layout of the apartment. We're on the couch, in the living room, eating junk food and watching TV. The small hallway is behind us, the kids' room to one side, our room to the other, bathroom in the center, and laundry room opposite to the bathroom. There wasn't much need for a nightlight in her room as the streetlight in the parking lot was plenty. In the space where the TV goes to black before commercial, we can clearly see the light emanating through the window from the kids' room reflecting in the TV. One commercial break, we saw the light, then it was gone, then it was back. We both saw something blocking that light and she knew it. This being the first thing that happened to both of us, she was ready to start with the "I told you, I know you saw that, blah blah blah." I was just as ready to try explaining away whatever blocked that light coming through our second story window. Maybe it blinked, maybe a big ass bird. I got up to investigate. I hadn't left the couch before some toy in the kids' room started making noise. I told you, this is what happens to me every night that you're at work and you never believe me. It probably just fell. It's nothing, I promise. Why are you yelling? I said. Now 3 toys are chiming out the alphabet and numbers and sounds a cow makes. Did they all fall too? I walk into the room to find all the suspect toys in different areas of the room. They didn't fall. Maybe they're all faulty. Weak batteries make toys act funky, don't they? I can explain this. We moved to our room to continue the argument. We've had a legitimate argument about ghosts. Not only ghosts, but ghosts in our apartment. To this day, this is the most ridiculous fight I've ever had and it only escalated from there. After several minutes of very heated arguing and no more paranormal activity, I might add, she has decided that she's grabbing some necessities and going to her mom's. This, of course, escalated the fight even more. Do you realize how crazy you're going to sound banging on your mom's door at 2 a.m. because our apartment is haunted? Lesson learned, don't under any circumstance ever call a woman crazy. She began throwing a week's worth of clothes into her bag, then onto toiletries. We take this fight to the bathroom. She's tossing her shampoo, toothpaste, etc. into the bag. At this point, I've had enough of this ludicrous altercation. There's no such things as ghosts, I yelled, and slammed my hands down on the counter. No sooner did my palms touch that laminate countertop, the lights in the bathroom, the hallway, the laundry room, and our bedroom turned off. Go to your mom's, I said. She took her things, grabbed her daughter, and left. I stayed in the apartment a couple days by myself and nothing else happened. She eventually came back without further incident and we eventually divorced. I don't think it had anything to do with the ghosts, but who knows. It's only relevant so I can fast forward a bit. After we had been separated for almost 2 years or so, we ended up running into each other and talking a bit. I asked if I could take her and her daughter to lunch one day, just to catch up and be amicable. I went out to her new place, which was in the same town, and picked them up. I took the road our old apartment was on, as it was the one on the main streets out of town. The daughter speaks up as we pass the place. That's our old house, she says. We both half smile. Yeah. I didn't like it there, she adds. Why? I ask, looking in a mirror to gauge her response. The mean old man in my room.